So, hello everyone, welcome back to the show. Today on the Digital Talk Show, we have Dan, who leads the marketing, product, and technology at Expose, which is an AI-powered eye tracking solutions. Welcome to the show, Dan. How are you doing?
Thanks. I'm really good, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we'll get on the topic how we can use Expose, and we'll just really see a walkthrough on what are the capabilities of things we can do with Expose. Yeah, over to you, Dan.
Yeah, so first, let me give a very brief explanation of what Expose actually is. So Expose is a web application, a platform that uses AI to predict which elements within a visual design grab attention. So that means that you can upload any design that you have, whether that's an image or a video, that really doesn't matter as long as it's a visual design. And as soon as you've uploaded it to our platform, you can generate a heat map that will tell you exactly which elements within your design grab attention. And the cool thing is, because we're using AI, we don't need any participants for this. We don't need any hardware. It's all done straight from the browser. And the process itself is pretty self-explanatory. We're going to go through it in a bit more detail in a bit. But what's important to share is that and this is one of the most important things, of course, when it comes to predicting stuff, right? Using an AI to actually do something, is that it's scientifically backed and it's scientifically validated. So we've actually done proper research studies, and there's actually an external party called MIT who have done this for us, where we can show that the accuracy is really like top level. So we do this with a 92% accuracy compared to traditional eye tracking research. So it's really, trustworthy.
Cool. So can you share how you came up with this tool, the idea of making this tool?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting story, because the party behind Expose is our SaaS solution, our platform. So there's actually a party behind Expose, which is called Alpha One. And Alpha One is a neuromarketing research firm, and they've existed for a couple of years now, since 2015, if I'm not mistaken. And they've done the traditional lab-based research like EEG, fMRI, implicit association testing, as well as traditional eye tracking, screen-based, as well as mobile. And the tricky bit there is that we found that a lot of parties that were looking to test materials often didn't have enough time to do a full research study on whether or not something worked. And next to that, it's obviously quite expensive as well, because you need participants, you need researchers, etc. And we found that since we've been doing this traditional research for years, we found that we had this massive pile of real eye tracking data that we gathered over the years in the lab. And we thought maybe there's something that we can do there, because there was also interesting stuff happening within the computer vision domain. So that's when we started investigating, is there something that we can do where we combine that data set with computer vision? And that's basically when the thought behind the Expose.io platform was born. So it was twofold. On one hand, we had that data and we had the people there to, the knowledge in-house to actually do something like this. And second, we saw that there was a very urgent need for quick testing, pre-testing in general, and that there was no solution that fulfilled that. Even if you consider solutions like A/B testing, it means that you need to push something live before you can actually do your testing, which feels off, right? It feels a bit weird. So that's when we thought, okay, let's go for something like this.
Cool. That's an amazing story. Yeah, thanks for sharing it, by the way. Yeah, so can you just give us a walkthrough of the tool? I mean, demo slides and walkthrough of the tool, so that people get to know what it is capable of, right?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll actually open it up in my web browser. So give me 1 sec to share my screen. There we go. So I'm now sharing my web browser. So as you can see, I'm actually already logged in to Expose. So what you're seeing here is the first thing that you see when you log in, when you haven't done anything yet. So we start off with an introduction video where we say, okay, this is what you need to do, but I'm going to take you guys through that in general right now. So the first thing that we need to do is, of course, we need to start creating file folders. In our solution, we call them workspaces.
Okay.
And workspaces are, like I said, basically file folders where you start uploading your media. So I'm just going to call this demo folder. We can give it a description as well. We see a lot of our users using this for either client workspaces or department workspaces, etc. But I'm just going to leave the folder description for now. So once we've created a folder, we open that up, and it's not really a surprise. There's no media in there yet because I haven't uploaded anything just yet. And from here, I can start adding either new subspaces, so basically folders in folders, or I can remove a folder. But more importantly, I can actually start uploading new media. So what I'm going to do in the meantime is I'm going to just grab a couple of examples that I have here.
Upload anything, is it like an image or a web page? We can upload anything, right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so there are a couple of things obviously that you need to take into consideration. And that's any type of research works in a similar way. You start with, like with any design, you have a certain goal in mind with the design, right? You want to achieve something. And this is something that you're looking to test. Am I actually going to achieve my goal considering the design that I've created? This tool is not going to help you in, when you upload a design, we're not going to tell you this is what you've done wrong, simply because we don't know, right? We don't know what your goal is. So this is something that all of our users, we tend to really push that in every single demo that we do, is that they need to understand very well what they're trying to achieve with a certain media item. So in this case, I've got to, let me actually add some more as well. So what I did now is I just uploaded some ads. This is a typical use case, but we also have the option to upload mobile pages. So I've got an Instagram ad here in a contextual setting. I have a screen recording. Give me one sec. I'll just grab a video as well, just because that might be interesting to share too. Web, there we go. Uploading the video there. And I have some interesting examples from packaging as well. So we basically have three main areas in which we focus, but the cool thing is that we're not limiting our users. So in that sense, we continuously see new stuff happening. But what, in a nutshell, the three key focus areas that we have is advertising, right? Because we know for sure that that is an area where there's a lot to be gained and where you're competing with a lot of other ads. The second one is focused on UI UX, so optimizing web pages, optimizing mobile apps, optimizing user journeys. And the third one is retail. And with retail, it's a pretty broad one because you can think about in-store materials, shelf optimization, but also package design. So these are just three examples that I'm just going to show you guys here. So the first one that I'm going to grab is the original Xbox ad here. I'm not sure if you have a lot of gamers in your direct viewer lists, but this is one of my favorite ads. Yeah, that's what I figured. So I'm a gamer as well, right? So just to give you an idea, this is an ad that was posted from the Xbox Twitter account. They also publish this on Instagram and Facebook. And one thing that is very interesting about this ad is that it's very specific in its purpose. Now, why is it specific? This was the post that they used to communicate for the first time the pricing of their new Xbox series. So the name was already mentioned, the device, the way it looks, the product itself was already mentioned. The only thing that is brand new about this is the pricing. And I was a bit surprised about this, right? Because this doesn't feel like a post that, with that kind of a load on pricing. It feels like this is a generic ad or generic something, but this was actually their price announcement, it surprised me. And the very simple reason for this is that if that is your main goal, right, trying to communicate that price, why would you add so many other elements to your design that people are already aware of, that people are already familiar with? And this is something that when we start using Expose, it becomes abundantly clear. And it shows us very clearly what would be an area to improve upon. So what we're seeing right now is the ad. So just, just to give you a bit of context, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a new heat map. And in this case, I'm just going to use the normal preset. We have the option to use all different kinds of presets or to even customize the end result. But I'm going to go for the normal heat map here. And what we're doing now is we're sending over this image to our neural network, which is then going to analyze this image pixel by pixel. And based on that, determine how salient that individual pixel is. Once that's done, it based on the settings that I've provided. In this case, I used the normal heat map settings. It's going to create a heat map for me, which shows me exactly which elements within the design grab attention. And we can already see that there's 4, 5, 6 different areas. Now, one thing that we need to take into consideration, and this is the reason why we feel that visual attention is such an imperative thing and such a crucial thing in advertisement, is that if you have only a split second when you're scrolling through a timeline, scrolling through a Twitter feed, this would be what people would be looking at. And considering the fact that the price is one of the most important things that we wanted to get across, you can already see here that it's not fully fully in view, right? It's not attention focused. Even better, I'm going to show you a functionality that we've built to actually put a percentage on this. Okay. So this is called our AOIs. And AOIs allow you to create an area of interest, an AOI, and to select those elements that for you are the most important. So in this case, I'm going to assume, right, this is a price announcement post. I'm going to assume that this area is the most important one. So I'm actually just going to give it a name here to make it easier for me. And we can see that it only grabs 6.4% of the attention. There's only a 6.4% chance that when people see this for a split second, they would actually see this area here. And that is just not high enough, right? If this is something that we want to get across, this needs to be way higher. So based on this, I can start optimizing and changing my design. And I've actually done 5 different iterations of this, right? So I used Photoshop to just move things around, to get rid of certain elements and to make things more clear. And I actually ended up, and I explicitly didn't upload it just yet, but I have it ready here. I explicitly created a version that has a lot more focus on the thing that I found was most important. Now, I already briefly mentioned that there were a lot of elements within that design. So what I did is I simplified the design. I took into consideration neuromarketing principles like high contrasting colors and improving font sizes, but also getting rid of the stuff that is already familiar to people. So for example, the word Xbox has now been completely removed. Why? Because I'm already posting this from an Xbox Twitter account. Plus, all of the gamers would already recognize the product and the logo. So I don't need that extra weight. And if we now create that same heat map, and again, I'm going to use those AOIs to show you exactly how a change like this, and obviously this is not a one-step thing, right? So it took me 2 or 3 tries to get to something like this. But it allows you to test on the fly and to validate a design before pushing it live. And now we can see, I'm not going to change the height of this box, but we can see that it moved to 18.2%, which is 3 times as likely to get any attention than the previous one. And this is exactly what you want to do with advertisement. And the same, I would say, applies to web design, because you want people to focus on, call to action on a marketing landing page. In e-commerce shops, you might want your higher revenue type of products to be more centralized or to draw more attention. And these are all things that you can very quickly and easily identify.
Got it.
Yeah, so this is just a very short idea of showing you how that works. I've got a ton more examples that we can dive into if you want to. But this, in a nutshell, is what we provide as input. And I'm just going to grab a video example just to show you guys how video works. Now, as you can imagine, video takes a bit longer to process than just an image. But even then, this is going to take about a minute to run. So this is a video of me scrolling through a web page, and this is actually a real case that we did for Virgin, where they built this website and they introduced certain elements that they were aiming to push, and their main focus in this case was lowering calls, right? Call reduction. So they created this self-service platform thing, and they were trying to push that on this this specific page. And if you take a look at the page itself, when you're scrolling, this is exactly how a user would go through that page. So if they're looking for something related to self-service, this is how they would be searching, and they would be dwelling across this page and taking a look at all of the different elements that are there. But what Virgin found is that the number of page landings from this specific page towards that self-service portal, it wasn't a lot. They were expecting a lot more traffic to that page, and they were expecting a lot more calls to be reduced. So they asked us, look, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? So what we did is we pushed it through Expose, and this was the output of the Expose platform. So this is the prediction of the Expose platform, and we can see the attention going across the various elements. We can see a bunch of things grabbing attention and a bunch of things not grabbing attention. And the most important question, I'm going to ask this question to you as well. How many times did you see the self-service bar? This is going to be confrontational, but
how many times did
you see that self-service bar, the bar where people can actually use the self-service stuff?
Maybe like 5 to 6 times.
Really, that many? Because it is actually only popping up twice.
Right. Okay.
But the tricky bit is that, and we've already predicted that, this is the bar, right? So the top one here.
Okay.
And it's probably something that you would have missed the first time that you saw it, and the second, and the third time maybe you saw it. But there's so much content here that is screaming for attention that people miss it completely. And the second, it's actually only shown twice, but the second time the same thing happens. Look at this. So there are so many different elements on this page that are drawing attention away from what for them is the most important thing, that people are not clicking it. And that is very frustrating and confrontational, but it just shows you that if you sort of build a page where all of the content is visually attractive and visually pulling, then nothing is, right? That's what you see here. There's just so much happening. So we advise them, change that color, change the elements that are showing around that self-service bar, and you will immediately see that the number of people clicking through on that bar is going to go up. And this is an interesting example because they're also opening up that find your bundle thing on the left side. And again, it's drawing attention away from the element that for them was very important here. So this is just a simple case of how you can use video to analyze whatever's happening on your page and see, is this actually what I want my users to see, my visitors to see? Or should I be pulling attention to something else? And you can start optimizing based on this.
Cool. Got it.
So that's in a nutshell the platform and the stuff that I wanted to run through with you. I've got a lot more that I can share in the shape of examples, but it might be good just grabbing a couple of questions if you have any. Or
yeah. So what is the most interesting thing which able to achieve using Expose?
Yeah. So the interesting thing is that we as as founders, as builders of this platform, we first thought that designers would be embracing this, right? Because it helps them build something better than what they already have. But interestingly enough, we found that designers often felt that they knew better. Even though this is all scientifically driven and data-based, designers often felt like my gut tells me something else. And I'd rather trust my gut than trust a solution like this. So we saw that primarily people who are familiar with working with data, so the people working in CRO, web optimization, but also marketeers, data-driven marketeers, they started embracing this because it allowed them to very quickly validate and identify, does my design actually work? And they were able to push back to a designer, to their boss, to their clients saying, look, I know that this is not going to work because that's what the data shows me. And that was a really interesting insight for us because we thought that we would be helping the creatives, but in fact, we were actually helping those that were always looking to find a way to, identify whether a visual worked or not. And that's exactly what we've given them. So that was a really interesting thing to see, something that we never expected actually.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, and some interesting case studies which you've seen so far, like the
Yeah, so
most interesting thing which you've seen using Expose.
yeah, so the most interesting thing that we've seen so far is that primarily, the easier on the eyes things are, the better. And the more interesting stuff is that, at least that's something that I found really interesting, is that when it comes to optimizing your landing pages and optimizing your web design, simplicity is key and contrast is key. But there are things that heavily impact the way that your landing pages work, and the way that click-through rates work, and the way that your call to actions will work. And visual is more important than you might think. And this is something that we've shown in a case study that we have on our website with the guys from Waal on the Maas, where they used our platform to validate and steer people within a journey by going frame by frame and validating whether or not the right elements got attention.
Okay.
That was a really interesting example. The second example that I found really interesting is the example from JC.co, which is an out-of-home example. And what they did is they started validating their out-of-home posters to see how likely it is that people will actually see the elements within a poster. And even better, they started validating how the number of people waiting, for example, at a bus stop would impact the way that people would perceive a poster that was put up there. And that gave some really interesting insights as well, because this is something that a lot of people don't really think about. But if people are standing in front of your poster, people are obviously not going to see it. So this gave us a lot of very interesting insights as well, where people, or at least the guys from JC.co, started leveraging the upper part of the posters at the more busier areas, because that was the only area that people would still see. So that was a really interesting insight as well. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen here. That's a bit easier. There we go.
How are you planning to develop Expose, and what are the things which we might come across with the tool?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we've got a very, very long roadmap, and a lot of the stuff that we do is grounded in research, right? Everything that we do is scientifically validated. So a lot of this new functionality often goes through a long R&D cycle. So we need to put that dot on the horizon. Otherwise, we don't know what we're going to work on in the long run. But in the short term, what we're currently working on, what we're looking to launch in the coming quarter, includes stuff like implementations with both Figma as well as Adobe. We're looking to launch new video functionality where we're gonna make brand and logo detection available to all of our video users, which is going to be really exciting, because that would allow you to analyze the video, and we will just exactly tell you how likely it is that people would see your brand icon or your brand name. This is something that's on the roadmap for Q1. Q2, we're going to focus on normative data and providing you additional data on industry. So how well are your direct competitors doing? If you're in the banking industry, how well is your ad performing towards different others within that same domain? That's just the basic stuff that we're already working on. And on the long run, we're obviously looking to do more with audio. We're looking to do something with emotion prediction. But again, this is long-term stuff.
But still, long-term is like nearby right now, say, because
True.
of the technological advancements and things like that. It's like in the near future, so we can expect a lot of things from Expose right now. Myself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got a public roadmap available as well, where people can vote based on the features and the functionalities that they prefer to use, and we're prioritizing based on this. So it might completely shift if our users prefer that we focus on something else.
Okay, got it. And yeah, do you want like show us anything in particular about like the tool or something like that? So I think already showed us the walkthrough, and pretty much is covered in that. So is there anything special for us?
No, I think these are the primary things that we wanted to show so far. I mean, obviously, I can talk for hours about this because I'm very proud of the product that we've built, and it's something that I think will definitely change the way that we work on creative materials and creative design. So, I would definitely say go and try it out. We've got a free trial available anyway. So any potential people that think this is something that might be something for me, yeah, you can easily try it out yourself. We're not limiting you in any sense.
Sure. I'll probably use it today and try it out, I guess. So
Cool. Eager to hear your feedback as well then.
Cool. Yeah, I'll surely give that to you. Coming to the next part, is there a community or anything as such so that the users can like get more information on what it can do, and so that they can like communicate with the users?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we don't currently have an open community. I'm still considering this. This is something that I think I would have to have on my top of my list for Q1. So we're either considering Discord or like a more forum type of platform. We do have a knowledge base available that we're continuously working on, where we're well, not just focusing on how do you create a user, just as an example, but we're also sharing best practices. We're sharing neuromarketing principles. And we're also, literally taking you by the hand from where do you start with a design and how do you go to a design that actually in the long run will work. So this is stuff that we're continuously working on. We're also looking to do this for video on YouTube the coming months. But a lot of that stuff will be generated in-house. And yeah, I expect us to launch a community-like solution somewhere in the coming months as well. But we haven't decided on this formula yet.
Cool. Yeah, pretty much waiting for the opening, I guess.
Exactly.
So how is it different from all the other tools that are in the market?
Yeah, so it really depends on who you compare us with. We often get compared to traditional eye tracking. I already briefly explained what the difference is there. I think that's pretty self-explanatory as well. Then our indirect competitors are parties like Hotjar. And a lot of these parties, they require you to either install something or to actually run something. So Hotjar, for example, only works on large scale websites, and you still need to implement your design in order to actually validate it, because you need those participants, you need those users. That's something that we don't have. So for us, result would be instantaneous, while with those solutions, yeah, you would need a couple of days at least to gather enough information. Now, obviously, there are also a couple of competitors within the attention prediction landscape. And I think the major differentiator there is two or maybe threefold. The first thing is that we offer video analysis out of the box for all of our users. You don't need to get in touch with us first. You simply buy a subscription that includes it, and you can go ahead and do it. So you don't need us for that at all, which makes us quite unique. Second, all of our tech and all of our data is proprietary. So that means that the eye tracking results that we used to train our neural net on, they are all proprietary tech. It's all data that we gathered from Alpha One. And that is also quite unique. And third, the connection to Alpha One, we have a neuromarketing firm backing us up, which means that we have a continuous stream of new data that allows us to continuously optimize our AI. And that means that we also have access to the resources of a neuromarketing research firm. So we've got 3 people with a PhD in neuroscience and 1 with a PhD in computer vision that are continuously working on making this platform the best possible platform. And that is definitely unique.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's it for the day. And
cool.
Thanks for coming to this interview, Dan.
No problem. Happy to be here.
Cool. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Yes.